result of having Alan Gouk and Frank Bowling as patrons of Hampstead School of Art has really increased the interest in abstract painting. And that's wonderful, because for me as an educationalist, I feel that abstraction is a way that people can come really into making without feeling intimidated or feeling they have to measure up to something. So it's a great inclusive way to get people to work. I personally find the work very exciting, and if you go to the Tate Gallery and look at Alan Gouk's work, you'll find a very large painting there, you know, which is sometimes mostly on show. It's a very exciting piece of work to see, so do go along and see it. Thank you all very much for exhibiting here. They do look spectacular. So we want Mr. Gouk to come and do another workshop with us soon, to inspire some more work, and the School of Gouk grows. Thanks, everyone. Alan, the work that you've shown here, you've had several exhibitions at Hampstead School of Art now, and you've taught several workshops. And each time you do that, it engages a whole new audience, or helps people to more deeply understand their engagement with painting. How have you felt about giving those workshops?
Oh, great! Yeah, I've enjoyed it very much. But let me try and say a little bit about it. I don't know if you know the Boulez's composition Le Marteau sans maître, the hammer without a master. Well, this is like a master class without a master, because the very first thing I say to the people who take part in it is, I don't want you to copy me. So in no sense is it a sort of teaching exercise. What I do is to show them a few of the techniques that I've developed over the past few years in making these works that are a combination of gouache and acrylic, and showing how to blend the one into the other. Inevitably, if you're presented with somebody who's mixing paint and putting it on there, you're going to tend to do something a little bit similar. But in fact, there's been quite a wide range of work being produced. Some people have brought past experience to it and had to adapt. I myself only started painting on paper in 1998, when I was, I think, almost 60 years old. I'd avoided it almost all my life. And it also was a particular kind of paper. What we've done is to invest in the thickest, broadest, heaviest quality watercolor paper that you can get. It's made in India, so it has quite a tooth to it. It has a rich texture even before you start painting. It also has, it's irregular. These pieces have been cut down from a larger sheet of paper, but on the larger size, you can see it's not even square. You know, it's irregular all the way. So the painting is also, in a sense, a kind of object. It's a piece of paper, but it has a physical presence as an object, and the way some of these have been framed emphasizes that. So there's no glass under these, and you can see the paint, a fabric, which has then been stained in various ways. Another thing I do say when I start the classes is that Patrick Heron is a master of gouache. He did it this way. Alan Davey has a particular kind of drawing. So I don't just, again I say, don't copy me. Think about all the other people who have used gouache in the past, and you know, look it up afterwards if you don't know. But my own particular take on it has been, I started out purely with gouache, which is a very difficult medium, because it's you have to use it relatively thin. It's an opaque medium, unlike watercolor, but you have to use it relatively thinly, otherwise it starts to crack, and you can't really overpaint very much gouache on top of gouache for the same reason. The gum arabic that binds the pigment together means that you put one layer on top of another and the top layer will crack. So I started mixing acrylic paint in with the gouache, which takes it completely out of the territory of Patrick Heron and others, you know, of that type. The impulse to move and spread paint the bigger the surface, the more opportunities there are. And by and large, a painting is like an organism, it's like a flower. It evolves to a certain state. And beyond that stage, what you're doing is really painting another painting on top of the one that you've already got. So when I sense that that's beginning to happen, I stop people and say, take another piece of paper and start again, start a new one. Jackson Pollock's paintings are layered one on top of another, but his great statement was, when I'm in the painting, I'm not afraid of making changes because the painting has a life of its own. There's an easy give and take, and everything comes out well. But once that flow, if you like, has been disrupted, either by the end of the day or whatever, come back a second day, don't come back with completely different ideas. You know, the painting should evolve.
It's one of the reasons I love doing Alan's workshop, is that you get full of a certain energy, creative energy making this work. You can actually be very, very productive in quite a short period of time. So I think we all made about 3 or 4 paintings in one session, which is just, it's terribly exciting, you know, to work in that way.
I really enjoyed the colours and the physicality. I think Alan gave me the confidence within the workshop to really get in there and just open up my mind in terms of where my painting can go, because I never expected for this to be the final piece. And I think working with gouache was the first time for me as well. So for me to be able to use a media that I've never used before was really exciting for me.
The most interesting and useful thing I found was how to use the mediums in different ways. I'd never worked with gouache in that way. I'd worked with it in figurative work, but layering it and using the kind of fluidity of it, especially soaking the paper first and using that to flow across the work. Also applying the acrylic without brushes, you know, in different ways of applying it. It was very inspiring to learn, and very generous of Alan as well, I felt, to sort of give away his secret techniques a little. But yeah, just that freedom. There was a sense of freedom working on it.
I experimented with the way that the soaked paper kind of dripped, and so I'd move it round and round, and I think that's what I enjoyed most about Alan's work, is that you can be really physical with it and move it around and play about, and every new piece is quite an exciting beginning, so it's a new start to choose your colours and choose the format you're going to take and how you're using the paint and moving it around. And it was really great for me because this is my first introduction to abstract painting. I usually do live drawing or portraiture, so having Alan introduce this medium and explain abstract art in this sort of way was really exciting for me. Really nice sense of freedom.
It's terribly exciting working in the way that Alan does. It's you know, he says to you, here's a great big piece of paper, don't think about anything, just get that paint on there. And it's very kind of physical, and just a wonderful way of working. I'd love to be able to do it a bit more often.
I really enjoyed working on the large scale and working with a different medium of acrylic and gouache. Normally I work on a smaller scale and more figurative, and it sort of unleashes a lot of energy in you. And the difference of the colours combination, you have to do it so quickly because it's very wet, and it's a very emotional reaction to the sort of canvas or watercolour paper. It was a really great class and very liberating.